Hi friends, we're in an unusual situation here. I'm in my little camper. We're off camping. I wanted to do a plein air painting for you, and I do have a couple more days here, so if I did, it will be uploaded after this. But it's just too breezy out, and I don't know if you're a camper, but you know, campgrounds tend to look the same. Trees, lots of campers. Sometimes they're interesting campers. I like Airstreams. There just isn't anything right here around my camper that inspires me to paint. So, like I said, we're inside. It's a little crowded. I apologize if you hear some strange sounds or if my hubby walks in. But we're going to try this. I have my plein air painting box sitting on top of my table here. I've got an 8x10 stretch canvas. So I looked through my photos, and this is not exactly the composition, but we're going to work on this barn. It's a photo I took up in Wisconsin when we were up there. So we'll see how this goes. If you're watching it, I must have felt okay about it. I posted it, right? So I could tone the canvas a color, but I think I'm not going to. I'm going to sketch it on. Now, this composition's not great, so again, loosely based on that. I want to see some sky. I took this photo, I can tell out my window, which I do a lot of that when we're driving. And I want to think about placement of things. It's got a driveway coming up. So I think that might be a little stone wall. I cropped it, and it's a bit out of focus right now, which I kind of don't mind that. I know people that have actually intentionally put their photos out of focus to paint from, so you don't get too, picky with the detail. So anyway, hopefully there's a plein air video on after this one, and I got to do that. I want to do that. There's a lake here, and I've been down to the lake, and everything's sunny. There just aren't any shade trees. Even though I have my plein air umbrella, it still can be tough. So that didn't really inspire me. We may have to move this. I'm kind of building the barn as I go, so my proportions may be off. There's a door here. This was an Amish farm. There's a lot of wonderful Amish farms up there. I had the best time driving around. I think I'm going to have to move that up. Red barns are probably one of my favorite things to paint. I find that the people like red barns. I've sold quite a few red barns. Why wouldn't you like a red barn, right? These are water mixable oils. I have to move this window up. It comes over the edge of there. So just when you're sketching, it's all relationships, like if I sketch here, then how far over to the edge of this barn does this roof come? Just look for those things. This is going to have to come down, and this is going to have to come down a bit. So we'll have to bring the driveway down. I always say push and pull. That's painting. You change one thing and then you change another. Okay, look out. There's another little I love that about farms and barns, old farm. They just keep adding on pieces as they need them, and I like that. Okay, if this comes up here. I've noticed too, I think different parts of the country that silos are very different all over the place. That's something to watch for too, the shapes of them, the tops on them mostly, of course. Sometimes you see patterns on them, checked patterns, and it's all interesting. I feel like that angle's a little off. Let's look at that again. Yeah, I generally don't take a whole lot of time sketching. I'm a person that makes a lot of adjustments when I paint, but a lot of people do not paint like that, and I'm not saying that's, maybe you should paint like that either. I mentioned to you, I'm doing a workshop in Wisconsin in October, and I'm doing it with Shelley Keefe. And I have her DVD, and that's one of the things she does. She spends a lot of time on her sketch. So we will probably spend a lot more time than I normally do, I would imagine, on my sketch at the workshop, which is maybe a good thing. Maybe I need to slow down and spend more time. Because sometimes, you know, you end up and you're not real happy with it. So, you know, maybe we'll put a tree trunk here, kind of balance things off. All right, I'm just looking, see if I like it, if I don't, if my angles feel right. The top's not right on this. It's just not that tall. You know, because that's the top I see, it doesn't mean that that's the one I'll end up doing. I may change it. This is very small up here, not near as big as I have it. There was a little, if you know what they are, a little scamp, I think it's called, a camper. Last night I saw it was down in the primitives area, and I thought they're the tiniest little things. And I don't guess they all are, but I know a couple on YouTube that live in one, and it's very tiny. It's they live in it with their dog. Anyway, that kind of caught my eye, and I said to my husband, maybe I'll go down and paint that. It's not very shady there, but I thought could even paint it from the car. But it left, so I saw it pull out this morning, so that did not work out. So anyway, this barn looks to be a newer addition to the older barn. It's painted a pretty clean red. This back here is more weathered. It's kind of gray on the side here. So I think we'll work on those reds first. Nope, maybe I won't. See? It's a process. You just decide as you go. I'm going to block in the green trees first. And we'll take some ultramarine and some Indian yellow, which is a very dark, transparent green. All right, get a pretty good sized brush and just a little touch of water on my brush, and we'll block in the greens behind. I apologize if this shakes. This is not an ideal situation. This is usually what I do with foliage. I kind of block them in dark, and then you can come back on top of this and add lighter greens. And this is pretty dark back here. Like I said, I shot this out the car window, so I can't even see the very top, but we're going to run some of this up and off. I don't want to make a mistake and mimic the shape of that silo exactly. All right, we kind of look at the shape of this barn as we're blocking in. Actually, this comes way over, so we might move that over. And you can put a little red in here if you want to kill the intensity of the green. But again, that's usually how I start. I start really dark like that. And then you can just take some Cad Yellow Medium, and you can come and lay on top of here and then suggest foliage and even, you know, different trees. And then you can come back and add tree trunks and limbs to that. But even though it's mixing with that underneath, I'm trying to use a pretty light touch. You know, and even if you don't see it, sometimes the addition of orange can be really nice when you have a lot of greens. You know, and maybe it won't all be the same. You know, maybe some sections will be, the trees might be closer, like maybe in here it's a lighter green. Alright, I'm going to clean my brush, and we're going to mix up some sky color. We'll go ahead and get some sky color back in there. And I'm just going to take some cobalt blue and white. If I had a lot of sky showing, I would start darker at the top and lighter when I got down lower, and sometimes I'd even put a little yellow in it, kind of warm it up. But I have, as you can see, I have very little sky showing, so we're just going to try cobalt blue and white and see how that looks. Of course, I got to dip my brush into a little crimson, so we'll see. Didn't mean to. And this is pretty thick tree line back here, but of course you could come in here and put sky holes and I've been painting a lot of little paintings of the town that I live in. I think I'm going to maybe hit one of the businesses around town and see if I can't do a little exhibit at some point. A lot of cute, I've done rows of houses, and now I'm doing some of the stuff up in the main part of town. Painted a cute little coffee shop the other night, and they want to see it, which is nice. So I may even look around in there and see if they've got a place that we could do a show. I like old buildings. I'm just more drawn to them than anything. I'm just not generally inspired to just paint a row of trees. All right, this brush I may have showed you before. This is called a Sword. Let me turn around so you can read it. It's a Rosemary and Company, you can read it or not, Evergreen Sword. And it's a nice brush to do tree trunks because you can't control it really well. Because if you take a liner brush, you're going to have these perfect little straight lines. With this, you can't really do that, which I think is good. So we'll just get a dark color on it, and kind of just suggest some limbs, and we'll see. But it kind of flares out, and you know, because things are not perfect in nature, and so kind of fun, something different. I don't know what you could see there, but let me get some paint on the edge there. You know, and now that the sky color is in, you can even, you know, soften these edges so they read more like leaves, you know. And again, you could come in and introduce some sky holes down into them. So, all right, now let's think about the barns. I hope this box sits here without fighting us. Hoping I don't have to get on camera. It goes onto a tripod. This is a plein air box I'm using. It's an Easy L, and so it's got a bracket on the bottom. So when you set it on a flat surface like this, of course it's not setting flat. So I've got a roll of tape underneath it holding it up. So we'll see how that goes. I'm putting in some of these shadowed areas first before we come back and work on the red. This kind of angles just slightly. And if you like struggle to get these angles, I mean, you could go beyond it and then come back this way, you know, instead of doing this kind of thing. I told my husband he's sitting outside there, he can come in. I said, I don't think they'd see you, but they'll hear you. So we'll see. He's so supportive and good about not bothering me, and you know, if we're driving around and I see something I want to photograph, he'll back up. He's so great. Turn around. You need somebody supporting you when you're doing this kind of thing. Whatever your interest is, whatever your passion is, you're lucky if you have somebody that supports your passion. because most of us are not getting rich at it, but like he said, at least we do have the opportunity to recoup some of our money if that's your interest. Some people don't care if they ever sell a thing, but you know, a lot of things you just spend money to do, of course, you know. Okay, let's mix up some reds. This should hopefully be very attractive too, you know, the red and green being complements to one another. So let's work on the older barn first. And again, it's red, but this side is a lot of gray toward the bottom. So I'm going to mix up a gray of the 3 primaries, but I want to keep it toward the red side. And lighten up some of it too. We had the strangest thing happen earlier. It just makes you wonder if the man's okay. I noticed this man up the road because he walks very briskly. He's an older man, and I said, look how fast he moves. He was walking his dog down this way, but he kind of let the dog lead him wherever the dog wanted to go. So he came up the side of our camper, and my husband, we couldn't see him in the back, and my husband said, I think he's very close. Well, he walked right next to our camper. Try to look in the window. We have this film on that you can't see in. Then he went from us across the street, walked around their camper. He was reading something on their camper, and looked. I mean, people generally don't do that. You know, they respect your space, and makes you wonder if he's okay or not. Strange. All right, we're going to work on the side of this first, which is more red toward the top, and that's probably because, you know, it's more protected and didn't fade as quick, I'm guessing. If I had toned this first, you know, we could kind of dry brush this, which would be nice for an old building like this. See, I can't get the coverage unless I push it in because this is a stretch canvas, so. But I kind of want it to feel like a weathered wood. Now we can always come back, but we'll start out that way. And the front is more red than the side, but it's not a solid red either. Let's put a touch of water on this so they'll move a little bit better maybe. Again, this is a perfect subject for dry brushing. If I'd had a tone on here, a color, you know, think about that. If you do like old barns with old wood, you just kind of drag the brush across it to get that weathered wood kind of effect. But I've got to get this covered. But we could come back and do that, you know, and we may. If we need to, we will. Yeah, I'm still trying to get the canvas covered here, so. It's got a little diamond-shaped window up here, which is pretty cool. When you're camping, you get your TV off of an antenna, so you kind of take what you get, you know. And it's funny, you end up with usually PBS channels and stuff, and you end up with a lot of old shows that I never seen. Like I've watched Dennis the Menace and Hazel. I don't know if you remember that old show. I've watched a few of those. They're corny, but they're cute. And then we got a lighter edge on that we're going to come back and put on. Kind of just dry brushing some texture across there. The roof looks almost white. It's not a rusty roof, it's probably, and I got a few pictures of this barn I can look. I think it's a newer roof. Of course, it's very hard edged and straight, but I'm not sure I care. Seems to be a little lighter at the top than it is running down here, so darkening that a little bit. Going for a little bit of water. I recently ordered some of that solvent-free gel. It's for the workshop that I ordered it, but I may try it, see how I like it. And I left that edge pretty soft. We'll see how that feels later. It is a pretty hard edge, but I don't know, I tend to try to keep my edges soft almost everywhere. The roof of this one feels blue, and that could be that it's catching a lot of sky color. I don't know, it's pretty blue feeling. Alright, I'm looking at this barn. This side is oranger and lighter, so this is, again, all very red. It's a modern edition. But the side is catching more light, so like I say, it's more orangey and a little lighter. Just subtle, subtle changes to look for. And I tend not to clean my brushes a lot, which, things intermix. The front's darker, so I no yellow, and I added a little crimson. We'll see. And it has two little square windows in the front. Got beautiful weather here this week. I'm in Ohio, that's where we're camping too, and today's like, I don't know if it's even 75 yet. It's just gorgeous. I'm glad we waited till this week to come. Threw a little of the orange color in there just for variation. We'll see if we like it. There actually was another little barn off here too, and I wasn't sure I liked that, so. Well, I don't love stretch canvases as much as boards. The coverage is just a bit of a struggle. I'm going to order some more, but I love Raymar panels, R-A-Y-M-A-R, but they're very expensive. But Centurion makes a nice panel if you like a hard panel. But I do both. I tend to do the stretch canvases for my pet portraits, and I paint the edges so people have the option to frame them or not. I don't want a solid dark hole into there, so I'm kind of adding a little lighter value. And there's a very light door there. And then this gray that comes around on this side, of course, is going to be lighter. Got a couple windows there. And you don't have to explain everything either, you know. Yeah, there's a door right here. And it's pretty light, but I was trying not to get it too light because I didn't want it pulling your eye. So we'll see how that. Right now that doesn't work, but we'll see. All right, and then we move over here to another little shed, which it's another one. It looks like it has a blue roof. I think I might have mentioned I got into a discussion on a Facebook page. It's called Traditional Oil Painting, and I was talking to this guy about painting with the water mixable oils, and I think I told you this. He feels you can go solvent-free even with traditional oils. You don't use Gamsol or any of that. You use, well, people use different things. They use walnut oil, linseed oil, which I don't like because it's flammable. What's the other one? So anyway, it got me thinking that, I don't know, I may consider them again, maybe. I was trying to work, you know, with a less toxic medium, but it's more about the solvent, I think, than it is the paint. CADs can be toxic in any medium, but I know there are paints that are CAD free, so that's another consideration. So yeah, usually when people aren't tolerating traditional oils, it's usually the solvent that's giving them issues. So All things to consider. This part of the, like I said again, my image is kind of blurry, so which maybe isn't bad. Keep me from getting too picky maybe. Down in here it's kind of gray. Not sure, it felt like I was seeing a door there, that's why that dark's there. Not completely sure. We missed the whole side of this barn, which is fairly light because that's our light side. And I think that's a window. The top of the silo again looks blue to me. A lot of the reason this stuff looks blue is it's catching reflection from the sky. You know, that's probably why some of these are blue, but this is not very blue in the picture. This is my lightest. Using a large brush too, so that's going to keep us looser. We'll go a little lighter on this side where our light source is coming from. The silo itself is just kind of a light beigey, taupey kind of color. A gray. You know, it's usually the three primaries, and it can lean toward one of the three. And I think it leans more toward yellow. And of course it's going to be lighter on the one side. Kind of transitioning as we go around, you know, getting away from the light, getting a little darker. How many times do I say, I wish I toned this? So we either have to pull this over or this back because this is not. of a silo sticking out here. Actually, there's a couple, but I don't know if I'm going to put them all in. I think I'll just do the one, and it's darker. I'm thinning this so it moves around, but the disadvantage of that is, you know, that it's thinner, obviously. And we could take a T-square to this stuff and make sure we got it feeling straight if it really matters to us. Shape window. I got one picture that's a little more and a little clearer than the other one. I switched it and I thought it looked like it was diamond, which is kind of interesting, I think. Thinking about angles, that one would probably run up that way. You know, and you could get as detailed with this as you want. You know, these are silos, so they have those little lines running across them like that. So what I think is more fun than coming and adding the lines is say you started and you added the lines. I like then coming back and painting between the lines. I think that's more attractive. keeps you from having too hard of an edge on the line, for one thing. And I didn't even put any lines in the big one, but I suggested with color that pattern, so we'll decide. We may leave it like that, I don't know. Better. Yeah, I don't even think even though that white door's there, I don't think it adds anything to it, so we're going to wipe it out. I think it's kind of distracting. Your light side, so I'm putting some warmer, lighter color in it. And a little texture. All right, let's put our driveway in. Which again is another, it's not as warm as this, but it's very light. So we'll lay some white out here. So we'll go for some blue because it's cooler. But, you know, like so many things, it's a gray, you know, but it's a cooler. To me, it looks cooler than this. This is warmer. This runs up in there. And it runs this way too. And this is a gravel driveway, like so many of them are. So we don't want a straight edge on it necessarily. You know, keep a loose edge on it. Runs kind of down here and all. And it looks like to me, which is not surprising, there's some grass in the middle. So, okay, I'm noticing some different things going on here. This is a pretty bright green down here in the foreground. Oops. I'm going to cool it off a little bit, because it does feel like a cooler green. You know, we may want to push some of the same green up in here too. I don't know. We'll see. All right, so do a little bit of water here, get it to move. Actually, it's greener up there. And let's put some of these greens up in here too. I wanted to move it around and bit darker here and there, so it's not all the same flat color. And we kind of lost this that ran across here. I don't want it to be distracting, but some of the darks. Ooh. Well, I am a messy painter, I will admit it. I just dipped my palette knife into my pile of crimson and now it's all over my hands. Well, the way I'm painting here today, I don't have my brush holder and it's not ideal. I'm going to warm this up as it comes toward us, I think. Let's try that. Usually warmer colors come toward you and cooler colors recede. Always, not usually. So I'm warming this up. We'll see how that looks. This all back in here. Too. Darker in the foreground down here. You know, I do like paintings that sometimes the whole foreground is dark and it pulls your eye back in. I'm sure you've seen paintings like that where the foreground's in shadow. So we're darkening up some of this. we're going to kind of see if I like that idea. I'm changing the shape of this driveway too. I think the old barn feels weathered, and I kind of like how imperfect that is, you know. I mean, you know it's a silo even if it isn't absolutely straight, right? All right, so what do we think of that? Like my husband's out there visiting with the neighbors. Trying to get a little darker in the foreground. This kind of goes kind of at an angle like that, kind of rounded and back out. To call it quits, I think, and I'll decide if I like it. You know, I hit this with a palette knife. It may be a little too rough, though I don't care if it's perfect. You know, I kind of maybe like that about it. All right, let's see if I can show you. That'd be difficult. I think I'm better off just leaning it towards you. You're stuck in my booth. Okay, there it is. I'll have to look at it for a while and decide what changes it needs. I like the weathered barn the best. The modern, this also might feel a little wide to me. I think it would improve it maybe if I brought it back. So I have to look at it and decide what I like and what I don't like. All right, thanks for joining me. Maybe there'll be another video up behind this. Hopefully I'll get to plein air paint while I'm here. This took about an hour, and thank you for joining me, and like and subscribe and watch for me next time. Bye-bye.